Diet culture and financial stress create a uniquely harmful intersection that I don't think gets adequate attention. When you're struggling with money, you're simultaneously bombarded with messages that you should be spending money on specialized diets, expensive health foods, and specific eating patterns that are financially impossible, creating guilt and shame on top of existing stress. The scarcity mindset operates on multiple levels during financial hardship. You have actual food scarcity, worrying whether you can afford enough food. But you also have the perceived scarcity created by diet culture, which labels most affordable foods as bad or forbidden, creating artificial restriction even when food is available. This dual scarcity triggers profound psychological distress. The restrict binge cycle intensifies under financial stress. Diet culture teaches restriction. Avoid carbs, avoid fats, avoid sugar, avoid processed foods. But when money is tight, affordable options are often exactly the foods diet culture forbids: bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, cheaper proteins. You eat them because they're what you can afford, feel guilty because diet culture says they're wrong, then emotionally binge on forbidden foods when stress overwhelms willpower. This creates a worse physical and psychological state than simply eating adequately without guilt would. The research on food insecurity and eating behaviors shows that periods of scarcity lead to overeating when food becomes available. This isn't moral failure, it's biological adaptation. Your body and brain respond to scarcity by increasing drive to consume and store energy when possible. Fighting this with restriction makes it worse. Here's the cognitive reframing that's necessary: nourishment versus deprivation. Diet culture frames eating as something to minimize and control. Nourishment framework frames eating as providing your body what it needs to function. When money is tight, nourishment means eating adequate calories from affordable sources to maintain energy and health, not following arbitrary food rules. The satisfaction principle is critical. Diet culture often eliminates satisfaction in pursuit of optimization. You should eat this not because you enjoy it, but because it's optimal. But satisfaction matters psychologically. Studies show that eating foods you enjoy while hungry leads to satiation with less total food than eating foods you dislike. Satisfaction signals your brain that needs are met, reducing obsessive food thoughts. Gentle nutrition is an approach that acknowledges nutrition matters without rigid rules. You aim to include vegetables, protein, and variety when possible, but you don't punish yourself when resources are limited. You recognize that eating white rice with canned vegetables and eggs is nourishing even if it's not optimal. This flexibility reduces stress while maintaining basic nutrition. The evidence on adequate regular eating versus restriction is clear. Regular meals with adequate calories reduce cortisol, improve mood stability, and enhance cognitive function better than restrictive eating. When you're already stressed about finances, adding the stress of hunger and restriction makes everything harder. Financial hardship can paradoxically improve relationship with food by forcing practical, intuitive approaches. You can't follow expensive diet plans, so you're forced to eat based on hunger, satisfaction, and what's available. For many people, this breaks harmful diet culture patterns and reconnects them with internal cues. The body trust piece is difficult but essential. Diet culture teaches that your body is wrong, that hunger is weakness, that your natural weight is a problem. Building body trust means recognizing that your body is trying to keep you alive and functional under difficult circumstances. When it signals hunger, it's not being greedy, it needs fuel. When it stores some fat, it's protecting you against perceived scarcity. The hunger and fullness cues exercise is valuable. Before eating, assess hunger on a scale of 1 to 10. Eat when moderately hungry, around 3 to 4. Eat until comfortably satisfied, around 6 to 7, not stuffed. This takes practice, especially if you've overridden natural cues with diet rules for years. Challenging food rules requires identifying which beliefs come from diet culture versus actual nutrition science. Diet culture says carbs are bad. Nutrition science says carbohydrates are your brain's preferred fuel and essential for energy. Diet culture says you must earn food through exercise. Basic physiology says food is a biological need regardless of activity. Separating cultural nonsense from actual needs is liberating. The unique stress of being unable to follow trendy diets during financial hardship creates shame. Everyone around you is doing keto or intermittent fasting or Whole30, and you're eating rice and beans because that's what's affordable. The reframe: you're not failing, you're being practical and resourceful. Those diets aren't inherently superior anyway. What concerns me is people so trapped by diet culture beliefs that they'd rather undereat than eat bad foods, even when those foods are what they can afford. Bread isn't evil. Pasta isn't toxic. Potatoes aren't fattening in some unique way. These are staple foods that have sustained humans for centuries. The freedom that comes from releasing diet culture during financial hardship is profound. You stop spending mental energy on food rules and instead focus on practical nourishment. You stop feeling guilty about every meal. You stop comparing yourself to impossible standards. This mental space allows you to address actual challenges rather than invented ones. The long-term relationship with food can genuinely improve through the necessity of practical eating during hardship. People report that after financial crisis passes, they maintain more intuitive, flexible eating patterns because they've experienced the relief of eating without rigid rules.